But do
Yeah.
you think the infrastructure should be designed differently to be more agent compatible?
Yes, that's the AX part where like you have the surface of area of the tool design or like the infrastructure, how you expose the infrastructure to developers. You're now also be exposing these capabilities to agents, and you have to design them with agents work. So, for example, an agent harness, which is basically like another name for just the agent code, but like we keep inventing new terms. It uses the LLM and executes tools. And most of these harnesses, they like sometimes like if you interrupt the session or like restart it, it would re-execute an action it executed before. So if you're designing this API, it has to be idempotent because you never know if the harness is like can survive restarts or like it, for example, it jitters or like re-executes the commands. You have to safeguard this from the agent, and you don't know like which harnesses your developers are using to do this. Like, did they build their own agent, for example? And you don't have a guarantee that it would run this action exactly once. So you have to make it idempotent, for example. In other cases, you have to make the destructive actions recoverable in a way. So one of the first thing we did is like when we're building an infrastructure agent, you modify configurations on remote servers. So you don't always have the opportunity to like be able to have Git, like you don't version control uh, like remote Snowflake server configurations. We have like a server that's like been there for like 4 years running straight. So what we did is whenever the agent deleted a file, we backed up the file on the local server in the logic of the command itself. So if it made a mistake, you can actually recover the file back. And I was surprised that this is a feature that is not actually encoding agents now because people assume there will be Git. So if you take this agent and use it for infrastructure, it doesn't work because you don't version control like a random server configurations unless you have everything in infrastructure as code. And that's very rare, like that everything is codified and everything is in a single cloud provider. So it's like there are assumptions that you need to make sure your tools support. For example, instead of allowing an agent to edit a file directly, edit it through your own tool, which you have some guarantees on, like doing backups or at least storing a version of the file so you can recover it, for example. Or being idempotent, where if you run the action multiple times, like Terraform apply, it wouldn't make changes, like it would be stable, stuff like that.
Yeah, so few stuff similarly as you go making it human proof, like do some backups,
Yes.
if you can do IAC
Mm.
where possible and so on. So it's not that different in some cases to, designing for humans versus designing for agents and agent proofing it kind of.
Mm. Yes, in terms of reliability, yes. The problem is the frequency of these breaking changes. So the agents run like they can come up with commands super quickly, like much faster than we can type them, and run them like a lot on a loop. So I think the problem is the scale. So if initially we were fine with like doing these backups every hour, every couple of hours, or every couple of days if we do backups at all. Now we have to make sure we do that on every command because like the frequency is just very high. And the more agents you run, like people are trying to push organizations now to run like hundreds of thousands of agents. So this makes it much more difficult. So like the reliability stuff, where like the bar for reliability has to be much higher, and the bar of like foolproofing has to be much higher.
Yeah, so that's where the security and SRE and everything for agents grow exponentially and so on. And from developers' perspective, they hate it. And I think now they hate it even more. Uh, do you
Yes.
yeah. How do you see the platform engineering going? In which
Mm.
direction in this case? Because we had boom for DevOps, then we got into platform engineering, self-service platforms, internal developer platforms. How do you see future of it with agents?